Surely at some point in your life you've watched and enjoyed Peppa Pig.
Hooray!
But have you noticed all the strange things that make no sense at all in the Pink Pig's cartoon?
Which one should we eat, Mr. Potato?
Apples? Oranges?
Potatoes?
Everyone knows that Peppa's world is inhabited by fantastic characters such as talking animals, pirates, and even anthropomorphic vegetables. But as if that wasn't strange enough, one of them has superpowers and super strength, which is even crazier. We're talking about Super Potato, the biggest children's idol in Peppa's world. At first, everyone thought that the character was just Mr. Potato wearing a yellow cape, a mask, blue boots, and some kind of red underwear. In fact, these are the same colors worn by Superman, the most powerful hero on Earth. This suggests that Super Potato is the most powerful being in Peppa's world. But how is that possible if he's just a vegetable? It doesn't make any sense. Unless it's all just special effects and Peppa's world is a big TV show for the inhabitants of that universe. That would make more sense, but still not entirely. Check out this video on 12 strange things that make no sense in Peppa Pig. So hop on, because another Cinewave is starting. Throughout the entire Peppa Pig cartoon, we only see one school and one teacher, Madame Gazelle. However, there's only one class, and in it we see children of completely different ages. On one side there's Peppa and her friends, who are the same age as her, and on the other side there are the younger children, like George, Edmund Elephant, and Richard Rabbit. By the way, I just noticed that all the younger ones are boys. In addition, there's Gerald Giraffe, who sometimes seems to be the same age as the other children and other times seems older. But if we stop to think, it doesn't make sense, because younger and older children should learn different things, and animals have different rates of maturity. For example, rabbits grow faster than pigs, who grow faster than dogs, who grow much faster than elephants. But in the end, they all study together. We see all the younger children alongside them. Speaking of school, we see that parents always pick up their children when classes end. However, in one particular episode, we see Mr. Bull at the school too. But what was he doing there, since he didn't have any children or stepchildren to pick up? He only recently got married and won't be able to have babies for at least a few more months. So this is definitely something the Peppa designers didn't think through very well when they made the scene. Now moving to the other extreme, from children to grandmothers, we have the episode where the town's elderly women decide to pretend they're Vikings. However, when they forget the food and only realize it when they're out at sea, they end up stopping at an island where there's a snack stand, and guess who's there? That's right, the almost only employee in town, Miss Rabbit. The interesting thing is, if we look closely at that scene, we'll notice that there's no boat or helicopter around the island, leaving us wondering how she got there and how she'll get back. So does she swim to work and back? And if that's the case, how does she manage to have over 100 jobs and still have time to swim? This is definitely a big mystery. I'm also sure that Peppa Pig will never win the award for Best Animated or Well-Drawn Cartoon, since its characters look like they were drawn by a 10-year-old at most. And that's actually one of the things that makes the cartoon pretty cool. But even so, there's something about Peppa's design that has always puzzled me. Why, no matter how we look at the characters in the cartoon, can we always see both their eyes on the same side of their head? And this makes so little sense that many have started to theorize that the characters have 4 eyes, 2 on each side of their head, which would definitely be very bizarre. However, the cartoon itself has already shown in the Golden Boots movie, when Peppa spins around, we can see the back of her head, and at that moment, there's no sign of 4 eyes. So really, it's just a design choice in the cartoon that doesn't make much sense. I guess it was just easier to do it that way. And if you also think that some things in Peppa don't make sense, but still think the cartoon is super cool, comment below with #Peppa. Another thing that bothers many fans of the show around the world is the fact that in Peppa's world, animals have their own pets. For example, we see that the pig family has a pet goldfish, or we see that Pedro Pony has a pet turtle. I don't know about you, but doesn't that seem a bit off? Because to me, it really feels quite wrong. As we've mentioned, many things that exist in Peppa's world also exist in ours, like schools, supermarkets, and vehicles. However, some ways of dealing with these things are different from what we're used to. And the main one is definitely how they get into cars. That's because we always see adults opening their car doors and then getting in. However, the children, who always sit in the back, take a big leap and land directly in their seats. And if you look closely, those kids' legs are very short, which makes me think the only way they could do that is if their legs were made of springs. Officially, in Peppa Pig, there are 3 real-life humans who have appeared in the series: the pirate, Santa Claus, and the Queen. Besides them, everyone in the Pink Pig's world is non-human. And more than that, these animals and vegetables inhabit the entire world, as we can see in Peppa's visits to Paris and the United States. So, why do we see so many items with human faces in the show? That's because we've already seen books with humans on the cover, like Little Red Riding Hood, or in the nursery rhyme episode, where we see all the characters from the songs portrayed as human beings. In addition, we can see that statues like the Statue of Liberty and the statue in front of the museum are of human beings, not pigs, cows, or sheep. So if these animals have inhabited the world forever, why aren't all these things represented by them? Unless they weren't always animals and later became animals, that would explain a lot. And just like it doesn't seem right that animals have pets, it also feels a bit strange that in Peppa Pig's world, there's a zoo, where some species of animals are kept in captivity, while others get paid to trap and feed them. More than that, other animals, like Madame Gazelle's students, buy tickets to see the animals that are trapped there. In these moments, I wonder, should Zoe Zebra be in the zoo or at school? After all, she would be a wild animal. More than that, why is her favorite toy a monkey? That makes it all even more confusing. If there's one thing I've never been able to understand in Peppa's show, it's why she always talks about her silly daddy's big belly. That's because all the family members have the same shape. They're all round with a head, 2 arms, and 2 legs. The only difference is that each of them is a different size. But certainly, all of them, without exception, have a very round belly. I think Peppa should stop teasing her dad and start looking a bit more at her own belly, which is quite chubby too. And now let's take a moment to look at our own bellies too, and ask you to subscribe if you haven't already and join our team right now. In the episode Fire, we see Daddy Pig and his friends getting ready for a barbecue, and notice that among his friends are a bull and a pig, which are the 2 animals most commonly used for barbecues in the real world. So when we see that scene, the first thing that comes to mind is, what kind of barbecue are they planning to have? If it's not 110% vegan barbecue, just thinking about what they might be grilling is pretty disturbing. Honestly, I hope they aren't cooking any type of meat. But considering they're not grilling meat and instead only vegetables, wouldn't that also be strange, given that we know several vegetables in this world that have lives of their own? That would make the situation pretty dark as well. The interesting part is that at the same time, we can see that the biggest icon among the vegetables, Mr. Potato, has already told kids to eat vegetables.
Eat fruit and vegetables. Apples, oranges, carrots, tomatoes.
Potatoes?
Which left Madame Gazelle students wondering if they should bite Mr. Potato, who definitely feared for his life at that moment. If I were in his shoes, I would stop asking kids to do that. It's definitely not safe. Another big mystery that leaves us wondering is the fact that we see multiple references to Ben and Holly, magical characters from another show by the same creators as Peppa Pig. For example, we see them painted on the walls of the hospital where the elf and the fairy are clearly depicted. This doesn't make sense since the world of the little magical beings is completely hidden, and no one knows about their existence, with few exceptions. So how did they end up there? This is definitely a big mystery that maybe one day we'll get an answer to. Another thing that made me think a lot was definitely the episode where Peppa had a sleepover at Susie's house and the 2 decided they were going to marry their friends, Pedro Pony and Danny Dog. But if we pay close attention, we'll notice that in Peppa's world, animals of different species have never married, and if this were to happen, it would be the first cases of interspecies marriage. Which makes me wonder, who would the girls marry if not boys from other species, since there are no other pigs and sheep around? And besides that, if they actually did get married, what would their offspring look like? So this is definitely one of the great mysteries of Peppa Pig. Now you know about the strange things that don't make much sense in Peppa Pig. And if you want to learn more about cartoons and animated movies, we're leaving 2 video suggestions for you to watch. Pick which one you want to watch first. I'm sure you're gonna love it.